Hello, Mathew from Lanjarón Property here with your monthly market report for what's been happening in the property market in your area. We're going to look today at the Lanjarón Órgiva, Lanjarón and over into the Lecrín Valley. It's been an interesting month, the month of June, and we've seen quite a few interesting changes and flips and flops in the market. But let's, in our usual fashion, have a look at some of the statistics around the area, looking at the factual movements in the market, and then we can look at what's the future for the market at this half-year stage. What are the predictions going forward for 2021? So to start with, if we look at the number of properties on the market in Lanjarón, last month there were 120 properties on the market in Lanjarón, quite a significant increase over some previous months, with an average price of 160,000 euros, giving a price per square foot of 1,789 square feet. So we've seen quite a few properties come to the market over the last month in Lanjarón, and this is creating quite a bit of interest because it's also increased the number of sales quite dramatically, which shows that there are plenty of buyers still for the right types of property. Looking at Órgiva, there were 98 properties on the market during the month of June, with an average asking price of 242,000. This has been skewed a little by a number of properties that are in the 600,000-700,000 euro price range that are affecting the averages a little bit. But that still gives an average price of 1,482 euros per square foot. In the Lecrín Valley, looking at Nogüeles, focusing on Nogüeles as a town because there's a few different markets within the Lecrín Valley. So looking at Nogüeles, we have 15 properties on the market in June at an average asking price of 98,920 euros, with an average asking price of 560 euros per square metre. And I've just realised I said square feet in the last couple of ones. It should actually be square metres, so do bear with me. I do flip and flop between which measurements we use. A drawback of dealing with lots of international clients, and some deal in feet and some deal in metres, so apologies for that. So that's the interesting statistics for the market so far, or for the period of June. But what's going to happen with the future of the market? Well, one of the questions that I get asked regularly by many clients, be that buyers and sellers, is how long does it take to sell a property in Spain? Well, that's such a big question, it's impossible to answer precisely, and the reason being is different areas and different locations have different types of properties, demands and timescales. But to narrow it down to the area that we're dealing with, the average timescale for a property to sell in our area is actually around 6 months. Now this could be have some dramatic changes depending on where you are. So for example, we have had properties that have sold literally within 1 day, and properties that have actually sold before even coming to the public market. But at the same token, we're very aware of properties that have been on the market for several years in other places. So when you look at this, that does have quite a big impact on average timescales. So it's probably more important to look at how long is it going to take my property to sell? There's a number of factors that are going to influence that quite considerably. They can range from what is in demand or in vogue at the moment, and what's out of favour. So if we were to look back, say 10 years, there was a huge demand for townhouses, for reform, for example, where people would do them up and live in them as holiday homes. That demand has faded away due to the impacts we've had with COVID and with lockdowns over the last year or so. And actually the demand for those, whilst that has gone down, the demand and for fincas and corticos, I add legal fincas or corticos, has risen significantly. And in turn that's had an impact on pricing for both. They've had to adjust according to the demand. One of the other things that has a significant impact is the type of marketing that you have for your property. So for example, if you have a property that's really suitable for just a small local market, then using one of the one-man band type small local agents in your area could well be the best move for you, as they're most likely to have good contacts with the very local market. However, if you think your property is more suited to an international market and an international buyer rather than just a small local one, then it's certainly going to make an impact on the type of marketing that you have. It's very important to know which is the right thing for your property and where the right buyers are going to come from, so that you don't restrict yourself too much. The strategy that you use for this really is essential. And we've seen some significant changes and movements within that certainly over the course of the first half of this year. A number of properties that we're using just a small local agent have switched over to get a bigger audience, and I found that that's been very successful in finding a buyer for them quite quickly. How are things with the international market at the moment? Well, we're seeing some significant changes actually, and some sudden movements within the market. We did have a moment where Portugal was on the green list for the UK, and actually a large number of buyers, despite whether I agree with it or not, were flying into Portugal, driving over to this area to view properties. But that loophole has now been closed. We are still seeing quite a large number of UK buyers, for example, flying into Spain because they are allowed to, as they've been vaccinated. The UK vaccine rollout has been quite significantly faster than here at the moment. But that said, going back to the UK is causing some problems. So if people are retired, it's not so much of an issue. If people are working, then that's causing a bit of a problem at the moment. Many of our Northern European buyers from our Northern European partners are coming down to view properties, so we're seeing an increase in that. And actually in the US and in Canada, our partners in those countries are seeing a significant increase in interest in Spain. So things are starting to move more at the moment, and properties are starting to sell more quickly. But as ever, pricing is the key. So another question we get asked is, how do you calculate the price of a property? Well, actually it's more of an art than a science. There is no magic formula. So if anyone's saying, oh, here's a formula for how you value a property, to be honest, don't take much notice of them. It is more of an art than a science, and things can fluctuate within the market all the time. So without physically seeing a property, it's impossible to give you an accurate answer. And it also depends on the type of property in the type of market at the time. So the best thing to do if you are looking to sell within the next 6 months is don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we can have an informal chat about the best way forward for your personal circumstances and for your property. So thank you for taking some time to listening to this market review. We will have more news coming soon as it arrives. And don't forget, if you have any questions relating to the property market, don't forget to check our Buyers and Sellers series out on YouTube, which answer a lot of the frequently asked questions, or feel free to contact us anytime. We're here, we're friendly, we're happy to help. So I've been Mathew from Lanjarón Property. Thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye for now.